Shall I make my share screen? No.
Yeah, share screen करना पड़ेगा. Audio सब first class है.
Okay. Thank you for your kind introduction, sir. And very rightly, you have already set the path rolling, which make my task easier. So at the outset, I'll greetings from the city with the oldest fort, surviving fort in North India. This is the fort of Bathinda, where Razia Sultan was kept when she came here. So this is one of the oldest surviving fort of the North India. So greetings from the old city of Bathinda, and straight to the topic. I have been assigned the job to discuss psoriasis as an inflammatory model for cardiometabolic diseases. Now, whenever we talk about psoriasis, pictures something like this comes to our mind, where we see a lot of plaques, scaly lesions over the extremities, over the scalp, and maybe itchy regions, widespread out, localized, all kind of things. And we know this is primarily an epidermal disease, which is characterized by epidermal hyperproliferation, as well as there is abnormal keratinoid differentiation. Now, with this kind of picture coming to our mind, the basic question is, what do psoriasis, a common chronic skin disease, and type 2 diabetes, a disorder primarily related to the insulin resistance, or the cardiovascular diseases as discussed by Sir, what do they have in common? Why are we talking about that? Now at the surface, not much would appear. Apparently the things may not be that clear. So I'll try to look into the possible evidence which is available with us and try to convince you with the idea that we need to have a common platform where we can address all these issues together. Now, the basic things which have changed is the advances in the medical informatics, immunology, and genetics, which have now challenged the old paradigms. Now, we earlier know psoriasis was considered as a disease limited to the epidermal hyperproliferation, but in 1979, there was an observation that cyclosporin, which is used primarily for organ transplant in those days, was effective in the psoriasis patients. And this whole thing challenged the long-held dogma that psoriasis was limited to the dysregulated epidermal disease. So what has come up in the recent days is the role of the inflammation. And we know the inflammation in the skin is playing an important role. There is infiltrate of the neutrophils in the epidermis and superficial dermis, and the infiltrate of the T lymphocytes in the dermis itself, primarily the CD8 cells. And it is primarily believed that it is the Th17 which is going to play an important role, as we can see here in the slide. The Th17 is the cells which are primarily involved, and a lot of other genes which are there, and this whole process leads to the upregulation of a lot of cytokines like IL-17, IL-22, IL-23, and together they lead to the disease of psoriasis. Now, there is a strong epidemiological evidence which links psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis to the diabetes and cardiovascular risk factors, and increased risk of developing the cardiovascular disease. And this is the underlying chronic inflammation where there are common shared pathways and cytokines common to the metabolic disorders, atherosclerosis, as well as psoriasis, which forms the basis for cardiovascular and metabolic comorbidities of psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. Now, I'll be discussing the evidence under the following heading. What are the common comorbidities, cardiovascular comorbidities, which are associated with psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. Here, I'd like to mention that I'll be trying to address psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis separately because there is a lot of evidence which shows that With psoriatic arthritis, as the inflammation burden increases, the things becomes different. So I'll just try to highlight that also. Now, cardiovascular risk factors and metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome, atherosclerosis in psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. What are the common inflammatory pathways? Lab parameters and imaging of the subclinical atherosclerosis. And what are the therapeutic interventions and the cardiovascular outcomes in psoriasis with these therapeutic interventions. Now, looking first at the cardiovascular comorbidities. Now, as we have seen, there is a lot of information or data available where many epidemiological studies have shown that particularly severe disease, psoriasis, where we are requiring systemic treatment, is associated with increased mortality and medical comorbidity. And that is, again, cardiovascular morbidities play an important role in this. Now, one of the pioneer studies published in 2006 looks into this factor, where they established that psoriasis is an independent risk factor for myocardial infarction, especially in the young patients. So what they did, this was a large study, prospective data was collected, where you can see approximately 1,27,000 with mild psoriasis or even with severe psoriasis and 5 lakh control patients. So huge data was taken into consideration. And they found that the odds ratio for the myocardial infarction was higher for the patients even with the mild disease of psoriasis, even for a young patient of 30 years age. And as the severity increases, the odds ratio increased. And this whole adjusted relative risk was maintained even in the elderly age group. So you can see in the elderly age group, overall the 60-year-old patient, if we see, again, the risk is higher, but overall increased risk will be higher as compared to the younger population because of the traditional risk factors which are more in the elderly age group. Moreover, the prognosis after the acute myocardial infarction was worse seen in the patients with psoriasis. And patients with severe disease, they have more chances of cardiovascular death, and which is independent of the traditional cardiovascular risk factors. Now, after this initial pioneering work, many other epidemiological studies have shown that psoriasis is an independent risk factor for myocardial infection, stroke, or deaths, or what we group together as the MACE. So it leads to a higher MACE in these patients, and the risk is higher in the severe disease. But what is important is that even with the patients with mild psoriasis, the comparison with the respective controls, the risk is much higher. So it is not only when the disease is severe, definitely a severe disease leads to more risk, but even a mild psoriasis, if it is untreated, will have significant increase in the number of cardiovascular events as compared to the controls. And the duration of the disease is again important. Higher MACE is increased 1% per additional year of psoriasis duration. And the prevalence of hypertension, obesity, hyperlipidemia, diabetes, and at least cardiovascular event is significantly higher in the patients with psoriasis with arthritis. So as I discussed in the beginning, patients where there is arthritis, they tend to have a much higher risk. Now, with this introduction, if we look into the cardiovascular risk factors and metabolic syndromes in the presence of psoriasis, we see the traditional risk factors and metabolic syndrome are much more common in patients with psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. So all the components separately or in cohesion are increased in the presence of psoriasis. Now, if we look at the obesity, there is a well-established correlation, as well as the obesity has implications regarding the treatment of psoriasis also. The odds ratio between psoriasis and obesity, taking the body mass index, is 1.8. And when we look at the severity into consideration, you can see the odds ratio goes up to 2.23 in the patients with severe disease. Moreover, it itself is recognized as an independent risk factor for psoriasis. and obesity and the high abdominal mass doubles the risk of psoriasis, and long-term weight gain substantially increases the psoriasis risk. So all these parameters are well established. There is a lot of recent data which we can have an access to. If we look at the hypertension, a beautiful meta-analysis published in 2013, which analyzed 24 observational studies, found an association with the psoriasis and hypertension, and the odds ratio for hypertension was 1.3 for patients with mild psoriasis and 1.49 for severe psoriasis. And the likelihood of poorly controlled hypertension tends to increase more with the severe skin disease, independent of the body mass index and other risk factors. Similarly, diabetes, again, a lot of data available. This is the meta-analysis published where 44 observational studies were included and the odds ratio was high. Patients with the psoriatic arthritis, interestingly, had the highest odds ratio, and even patients with the severe psoriasis had a higher odds ratio, again confirming the same thing. And patients with the diabetes who tend to have associated psoriasis appear to suffer more from the micro and macrovascular diabetic complications in comparison to patients without psoriasis. Similarly, dyslipidemia, again a systemic review, including a lot of studies, found again the association with psoriasis and dyslipidemia is there. Metabolic syndrome, again, a good amount of data analysis involving 35 observational studies were taken, and the impact was shown to have significant effect or significant odds ratio in patients with psoriasis. Now, smoking again has been found to have significant association with psoriasis, a relative risk of 1.88, and it is also associated with the increased severity of psoriasis. Okay. Now, a very important association is with the depression. Now, it is found that the hazard ratio for depression in psoriasis, or maybe we know in any chronic disease, there is a high tendency for depressive illnesses. So same holds true for psoriasis also. But we see depression is a risk factor for cardiovascular disease, incident cardiovascular events and mortality, and a diagnosis of depression following the coronary artery disease is associated with a twofold higher risk of death. So this is very important here. In this, because it is not only the morbidity, but mortality is also raised in these patients. So there is higher risk of myocardial infarction, stroke, and cardiovascular death, especially with the acute depression. And we see vascular inflammation is significantly increased in the patients who tend to have depressive illness along with psoriasis. So that again is the root cause for a lot of cardiovascular events in the due course of time. Now, if we look at this, the cardiovascular overall burden in the obese patients tends to be higher in patients with psoriasis, arthritis as compared to patients without arthritis. So this I already pointed out in the beginning that there are differences between even patients having psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. So more or less they remain same. The idea is as the burden of inflammation goes high, the cardiovascular morbidity and mortality goes high. Now, what underlies all these things we have discussed till now is the common inflammatory pathways. So let us look into this. Now we know the patients with excessive weight gain can have all the features of metabolic syndrome, but only half of these patients are metabolically unhealthy actually. And on the other hand, metabolic syndrome can be transiently seen in the lean individuals during the infective episodes also, where there is increased secretion of TNF, IL-16 and macrophages, which induced a temporary insulin resistant state that can be seen. Now, if there is a temporary feature, that is fine, but whenever there is chronic inflammation of the adipose tissue, so this will eventually lead to the insulin resistance, leading to risk of diabetes in these obese people. And we know the visceral obesity and insulin resistance are characterized by persistent production of abnormal adipocytokines like TNF, IL-6, leptin, adiponectin, which contribute to a chronic subclinical vascular inflammatory states and which modulates and results in atherosclerotic process. And here again, we see the role of Th17 derived cytokines in the pathogenesis of obesity and related inflammatory diseases being recognized increasingly. So this is the same group which we discussed in the pathogenesis of psoriasis in the beginning. So this is a beautiful paper which showed the role of IL-17 associated this. So there is a lot of details. I'm not going into that, but if required, you can access this and go into the detail. Similarly, atherosclerosis, earlier considered to be cholesterol storage disease, but we know primarily it is a chronic immune-mediated inflammatory disease associated with endothelial dysfunction. And a lot of pro-inflammatory cytokines like IL-1 beta, TNF, IL-6 are considered to be pathogenically relevant in these patients. And here again, the relevance of IL-17 in the process of atherogenesis is being recognized increasingly. So again, the same pathways which are involved in psoriasis are being highlighted in the pathogenesis of all these metabolic and cardio or vascular inflammatory pathways. Okay. Now, in addition to all these common cytokines, there are many other newer theories coming up, like genetic basis of coronary artery disease, or there is something what we call as the neutrophil macrophage communication or NETosis. Now, I will not be going into the details, just to highlight that along with the common cytokines, there are many other pathways where innate immune systems are also contributing to the whole process. So just to summarize, we see that the high prevalence of traditional cardiovascular risk factors and metabolic abnormalities contribute to the high cardiovascular burden in the patients with psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. And the presence of the systemic inflammation in combination with the metabolic abnormalities, they act in a synergistic manner to cause endothelial dysfunction, plaque remodeling, accelerated atherosclerosis, and hence increase the cardiovascular risk in these patients. Now we have seen the clinical parameters. Now if we look into the lab biomarkers of imaging of subclinical atherosclerosis, why this is important here. Now for the epidemiological purposes, we know the clinical endpoints like MACE, they are relatively rare. And for that, we require large patient cohorts to be followed over a very extended period of time to have significant data from that. So in comparison here, the serum biomarkers and surrogate markers like coronary atherosclerosis, coronary calcifications, endothelial dysfunctions, and newer imaging technologies, they are more easily accessible, available, and help in investigating the links between psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, and the cardiovascular disease. Now, this is a beautiful review paper which recently came up, which highlights all these parameters. So we'll be touching upon the important ones. Now, CRP, we all know this is the inflammatory marker most commonly used, but there are question marks over the use of CRP because it can be an indicator of the disease severity for inflammatory disorders. So how actually it is going to help us, it's doubtful. High ESR, again, risk may be same, but it has been associated with the high burden of atherosclerosis and clinical cardiovascular events in patients with psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis. Among the other cytokines, endothelin-1 has again been shown to correlate with the high ESR and disease activity score 28 in the psoriatic arthritis patients. Then BNP, we all know this is a biomarker associated with increased risk of cardiovascular death, myocardial infarction, especially heart failure. This again has been found to be higher in the patients with psoriasis, but again, the clinical significance is not yet clear. Now we have another novel molecule, GLIC-A, which is again considered to, which has been validated now, and this is considered to be that it can be considered as an alternative to CRP as a biomarker for systemic inflammation. It's a very stable molecule, and it has predicted subclinical atherosclerosis in the form of vascular inflammation seen by the PET CTs or the coronary artery disease as seen on the coronary CT angio in psoriasis patients. Then we have another parameter, what we call as the plasma asymmetric dimethylarginine, which we know is the endogenous inhibitor of nitric oxide synthetase, and this has been shown to be a risk factor for endothelial dysfunction in atherosclerosis. So there is data available again on this that which can help us in assessing these patients. Now, a very important concept of the coronary flow reserve. We know this is the ratio of the resting diastolic flow to the hyperemic flow. And if the CFR is less than 2, it strongly predicts the presence of severe coronary artery stenosis. So there have been different studies which have shown the importance of assessing CFR, and the psoriasis area and severity index. This is an important parameter we use in the psoriatic patients, and this remains an important determinant for deciding the CFR to be less than 2.5. And CFR has been shown to significantly correlate with the disease duration, the PASI score, and high sensitivity CRP. So again, indicating the effect on the disease activity. Now, another important thing which we can assess is the endothelial dysfunction. We know this is the earliest phase of atherosclerosis, and we can measure it by the flow-mediated dilatation and the pulse wave velocities. So significant impairment of the flow-mediated dilatation has been seen in patients with psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. And again, the arterial stiffness has been measured by the pulse wave velocity, and again, that is significantly impaired in patients with psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. So a beautiful review is there indicating the effects on endothelial dysfunction here. Then more simply, we can use the ultrasound for measuring the carotid intermedia thickness, which will give the idea about the carotid atherosclerosis, as well as we can look at the total plaque area. So in patients with psoriatic arthritis have definitely increased carotid total plaque area independent of the cardiovascular risk factors. And there are different genes which have been shown to be associated with the higher risk in these patients. Then we can also use CT for the assessment. In addition to the ultrasound, we can use CT where we can measure the coronary artery calcification or the coronary artery calciums, which are again higher in these patients. And sometimes we can also look at the epicardial adipose tissue, which is again considered as a risk factor for coronary artery disease, which is increased in patients with psoriasis as compared to the controls. Now, not only the CT, but we can also look at the CT angios, which will again help us in investigating the coronary atherosclerosis, which will help in identification of the rupture-prone plaques, and it has been proposed as an independent predictor of cardiovascular events. So this is again a very important tool which is available with us. This is a very nice paper recently came in circulation in 2017, where the coronary plaque characterization has been done in the psoriasis patients. And the patients were divided into 3 groups: patients with psoriasis, patients with hyperlipidemia who were eligible for statin therapy, and healthy volunteers without psoriasis were also taken. Now, what happens? In comparison to the patients with hyperlipidemia, as well as in comparison to the healthy volunteers, the coronary plaque burden, non-calcified coronary plaque burden, and the high-risk plaque prevalence was higher in the psoriasis patient as compared to the controls or patients with hyperlipidemia. And more interestingly, the improvement in the psoriasis severity among the patients with the psoriasis followed 1 year after the treatment. There was also improvement in the total coronary plaque burden, which was beyond the improvement in the traditional risk factors. So directly relating the disease activity to the risk of cardiovascular events here. This is another very interesting paper came in 2017, where again 90 patients with psoriatic arthritis were assessed, and again we see the longer duration of psoriatic arthritis, older age and male gender were associated with higher risk of having coronary plaques. And we can see the risk of calcified plaques, unstable non-calcified plaques was double in patients with psoriatic arthritis. Risk of obstructive coronary plaques was fourfold, and risk of TVD was increased by a factor of 10, which is very significant in these patients. Now, similarly, we can also use the PET-CT in these patients, where we know PET is now a validated technique for measuring the in vivo whole body inflammation, as well as we can use it as a acceptable surrogate inflammatory marker for assessing the vascular inflammation. And more importantly, we know that this is one parameter which can be taken for prognosticating stroke and myocardial infarction, and also for the follow-up studies for looking at the improvement in these patients. So now we have a lot of data which is available among patients with mild to moderate psoriasis, as well as there is data on my severe psoriasis. So all where the PET-CT has been done to assess and has been correlated well in these studies. More important, if we see the psoriatic arthritis patient, again, the vascular inflammation was higher in the patients with sacroiliitis also. So therefore, presence of sacroiliitis or the axial disease in psoriasis is more predictive of vascular inflammation beyond the traditional risk factors in these patients. So that again is an additional information which we can get here. Now with all this data, which strongly correlates, if we look into the therapeutic intervention and what happens with the therapeutic intervention on the cardiovascular outcomes, the therapeutic intervention, we can classify them as the epidemiological evidence and the clinical evidence. So we'll group them into two broad categories. The epidemiological evidence, if we see, now with all this, the first step, if we want to have the primary prevention, is to follow the algorithms and try to assess or we estimate the risk of cardiovascular events in patients with psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. Now, based on this EULAR, this is the European League Against Rheumatism, they have developed recommendations for stratification of these patients. But what happens in reality, most of the publications find there is a major gap in the management of cardiovascular risk in patients with psoriasis. So not going into the details, just to highlight that a very less percentage of the patients are actually evaluated for the cardiovascular risk in this group. But given the strong link between the psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, and systemic inflammation, metabolic syndrome, and the cardiovascular event, what we have discussed, control of the inflammation associated with psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis should apply beyond the skin and the joints in these patients and should be applicable to the prevention of cardiovascular diseases. Now, with this hypothesis, if we look into the data which is available, now, the traditional treatment with psoriasis we know is with the disease modifying drugs, DMARDs, though the data is limited, but there are some studies which have looked at the effect of methotrexate on the treatment, and they found that the methotrexate treatment helps in reducing the cardiovascular risk in patients with psoriasis. And the patients with psoriatic arthritis not using DMARDs have shown to have more cardiovascular disease. So there are some meta-analyses also which have shown the reduction in the MI risk in these patients who are treated with methotrexate. But if we look at the data is more robust with the biological treatments and primarily...
Sorry to interrupt you. Sir, kindly finish it quickly. We are going beyond the time limit.
Okay, just 2 to 3 minutes more.
Okay, sir, right.
The impact of the TNF inhibitors on clinical cardiovascular events have been investigated in the several observational studies. So all this have shown that TNF inhibition can be cardioprotective. So I'll just quickly go through. And basically TNF inhibition has been found to be effective, and it is found to be more effective than the methotrexate treatment. So clinical, this is again a beautiful review where they have looked at the TNF inhibition and how it affects the cardiovascular events. They have found that TNF inhibitors were associated with significant low risk of cardiovascular events compared with the topical treatment, phototherapy, or even with the methotrexate. And statins will just skip, that may not be part of this. Now, if we see in comparison again to the clinical endpoints, there is more data available on the lab biomarkers and the imaging techniques, what we have discussed. So just to cut short, and we have seen that there is data available that specific anti-inflammatory treatment may positively affect the coronary microvascular function that we have seen. There may be endothelial dysfunction. There is studies which have shown the effect on endothelial dysfunction, but here the evidence is somewhat contradictory, especially regards to the long-term treatment. So we see there are a lot of studies which are available where they have seen the tried different anti-TNF therapies, and we have tried to look at the parameters, what we discussed, the improvement in the flow-mediated dilatation, improvement in the pulse wave velocity, or the carotid endometrial thickening. So there is a lot of studies available, but most of the studies have shown positive results, but there are some studies which are showing contradictory results. So because of paucity of time, I'll not be discussing in detail, but just to mention that there is contradictory evidence also available in some of the data which is available as far as the CFR is concerned. If we look at the endothelial dysfunction, or if we look at the CT scores, we look at the PET scores. So there is data available, whereas some contradictory data is also available. So to conclude what we have discussed today, we see that there is abundant evidence that psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, chronic inflammation, and cardiovascular disease, they are correlated, but we need better understanding of the pathomechanisms underlying them. We need a strong change to improve the primary and secondary prevention of the cardiovascular diseases in the patients with psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. Now, we have seen that there is some evidence that the drugs which are available, especially anti-TNFs, they can be helpful, but that should not be the primary goal for use of these treatment in patients with psoriasis. And lab biomarkers and vascular imaging can be helpful and should be utilized for the assessment. So the take-home message for today is that the components of metabolic syndrome should be adequately diagnosed in all patients. As I mentioned, even the mild disease patients should be assessed properly. Presently, lifestyle changes should be actively encouraged. Risk stratification should be adjusted in these patients, and adequate pharmaceutical intervention should be implemented with adequate monitoring for its effectiveness. So thank you.